Many people started waking up at least to the threat after September 11th. And I tell people, when I started speaking out in 2002 and sharing my life story to educate Americans about what is coming their way, I tell Americans, my past is your future unless you wake up and see what's happening in your country. I am here from your future unless you wake up now and see what's coming. Because we didn't believe it in Lebanon. Look at Europe today. Who would have thought that Europe today will have Sharia law in Britain operating parallel to British law? Almost 100 Sharia courts in Britain operating parallel to British court. In France, over 725 no-go zones, Muslim enclaves only, where the police cannot even get into these neighborhoods. Europe is gone. Europe is no longer Europe. Europe has become Eurabia. And now in America, things are advancing at a much faster pace. When people think of the threat to America, they think Al-Qaeda. If we just eliminate Al-Qaeda, the threat will be gone. Really, think about that statement. Do you think that's true? Do you think if Al-Qaeda disappeared today, our threat will be gone? Look at all the terrorist attacks that were perpetrated here in the United States, or people who were plotting attacks this last year alone. Those who shot at the Army Recruiting Center in Little Rock, Arkansas, remember that? Almost a year ago? They were not card-holding members of Al-Qaeda. They were just two guys on a holy mission. The guy who wanted to blow up the Fountain Building in Dallas last year, he was not a card-carrying member of Al-Qaeda. He was an Islamic jihadist on a mission. The guy that wanted to blow up the building in the Springfield, Illinois, the federal building last year, actually the same day, at the same time that the guy at the Fountain Building in Dallas who wanted to blow up the Fountain Building, two separate incidences. Both guys have nothing to do with Al-Qaeda. Living in America, the guy in Dallas, they called him Sam. He had an earring. He wore a cowboy belt and his jeans. He was Mr. Friendly. Everybody loved him. Terrorist cells are now set up and operating in all major cities in the United States. Terrorist cells are spread all over the country. Al-Qaeda is not only our problem. We have many terrorist organizations operating in America, including Al-Qaeda, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Muslim Brotherhood, and many other organizations. Even the Shabab, now with the rise of the Somali Muslims in the United States under the Refugee Act, many of them are members of Shabab. In my book, I discuss a study that was done by Freedom House, the Center for Religious Freedom. They infiltrated mosques in the United States and collected over 200 books and publications provided by the government of Saudi Arabia, which funds almost over 90% of the mosques in the United States. These books are provided by the government of Saudi Arabia to mosques in America to teach Muslims going to these mosques how to live in infidel land among infidels and how to conduct yourselves. In these books and publications, these Saudis exhort Muslims to, and I quote, hate them for their religion, meaning us, Christians and Jews and atheists and Buddhists and everybody else, to hate for Allah's sake, always oppose them in every way, maintain a wall of resentment against them. They say that democracy is responsible for all the horrible wars of the 20th century, and that attractive names like democracy, justice, freedom, brotherhood, and equality cause all of the world's problems. They say that it is the religious duty of every Muslim to impose, quote, functionally Islamic government on every country in the world. This religious duty is binding in principle, in law, in self-defense, in community, and as a sacred obligation of jihad. In order to fulfill the sacred obligation of jihad, they must, and I continue quoting, invade its western heartland and struggle to overcome it until all the world shouts by the name of the Prophet Muhammad and the teachings of Islam spread throughout the world. Only then will Muslims achieve their fundamental goal. All religion will be exclusively for Allah, end quote. The other problem we are dealing with in our country is what's happening in our universities in Islam. I call our universities occupied territories. We have lost control of our universities because if you are a pro-America speaker, pro-Israel speaker, pro-Constitution speaker right now, and you go speak on our college campuses, not only you're not invited in the first place, but if you manage to get an invitation by a private group that gets you into the university, you are shouted down, you are hollered at, your lecture is interrupted. And people like me have to have security fit for a president to be able to speak on a university campus. Our founding fathers are turning in their grave to see what's happening to the new generation of Americans. Loathing America, hating America, protesting against America. But here's what got us to this point. The Saudis, because of their oil wealth, have been able to exploit a program called the Title VI program, which was instituted by our government after World War II to teach American students and prepare them to work with other nations in the world, to teach American students about foreign languages and foreign cultures, so they may be an asset to our country, especially those who want to get into the diplomatic field. So, because the Saudis all of a sudden have this oil wealth, they started pumping millions into our universities, setting up Middle East study departments and political science departments, and appointing professors, Arab professors, who are anti-Israel, anti-America, who are truly brainwashing our students to believe that America's success and America's imperialism is causing all these problems in the world. We are the oppressors, we are the evil ones, and if Israel is eliminated, all the problems in the world will go away. From the Ivy Leagues to the community colleges and everything in between, we pump the gas, they pump poison into the hearts and minds of our future generation. And this is why we must become energy independent and cut off that dependency on oil. But now, Brigitte, why is the media so biased? My gosh, and God forbid if you travel, go on a cruise and be subjected to watch CNN International. I don't know how many of you have done that. But I can tell you, my husband is always ready with his shoe to throw at the TV when we are overseas or on a cruise. It is unbelievable. But what else do you expect? Because for the last 16 years, as these students have been graduating out of our big top-notch universities, Ivy League universities, these students who have been fed this steady diet of hatred and resentment against America are now the bureau chief.